As I'm sure you guys have figured out by now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Wind Waker's dungeons. Some people may or may not agree with me on that statement, but something almost every Zelda fan can agree on is that the Forsaken Fortress blows. Anytime anyone talks about Wind Waker, this dungeon right here is brought up because of how awful it is. I've yet to see a single fan of this place, but hey, if you're a fan, you should leave me a comment about it so I can farm engagement. Welcome to another episode of Temple by Temple, where I, JICBean, take a look back on the temples in The Legend of Zelda. Today we'll be taking a look at the Forsaken Fortress, and oh boy do people not like this place. Anytime I've watched a video ranking Zelda dungeons, this is usually found towards the bottom, but is it really that bad? Well, that's what we're gonna figure out today. If you've never had the pleasure of watching a JICBean Temple by Temple video before, then let me go ahead and explain how things work around here. I'll talk about the entire lead up to the temple alongside anything inside I find important to talk about. Since for this temple you go through it twice, I'll give each time you visited a grade and then give the dungeon as a whole one final grade at the end. Without any further ado, let's get right into the Forsaken Fortress's review and grading. Even though Wind Waker isn't my favorite Zelda game, it's still got a phenomenal opening. The game begins with a story told by these murals of a time when the kingdom of Hyrule was prosperous. One day though, some evil man took over the kingdom and shrouded it in darkness. But when all hope seemed lost, a certain green-clothed lad with the blade of evil's bane showed up and saved the day. Hooray! Everything is saved and everything is fine! That is until darkness swept back over Hyrule. The people begged for the Hero of Time to return, but he was nowhere to be seen. If you somehow can't tell, this is the legend of the Hero of Time, which goes through the events of Ocarina of Time. I've always really liked this opening, and the music that plays through it is really great to listen to. After the story is done, we come over to Outside Island, which is one of my favorite starting locations in all of Zelda. Some girl's looking for her brother with this awesome looking telescope, and it turns out she's Link's sister. Of course, Link is found sleeping on a little balcony as he normally does. Seriously though, Link sleeps in a lot of these games. A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and Breath of the Wild just to name a few. Link's sister's name is Aryll, and she's here to celebrate Link's birthday. We get told that Link's grandma is waiting for him at the house, so we should probably head over there first. Anytime Link isn't in his classic green fit always feels special, and I really like this outfit he's got on. I also just love exploring this place so much. It's got such a comforting and homey vibe to it, with unique characters roaming the entire place. I mean, it mainly just delves down to me flexing my parkour skills on these little kids, but it's still great. Once we get to Link's grandma's estate, we can find her on the top floor of the house. She gifts us with the hero's clothes, meaning that we're a man. Back in the day, the people of the island would also learn how to use a sword around here, but there's only one person on the island with any sword knowledge, and his name is Orca. Grandma says though that we should head back to Aryll before we do any of that sword training. When we get back to Aryll, she compliments Link's amazing outfit and gives us a birthday present being her most trusty telescope. Now listen, I know that this thing isn't that useful, but it's just awesome to have and it fits with the theme of the game. We test out the telescope as Arito is delivering some mail when all of a sudden a big bird carrying a woman flies over Outside Island. Then a whole pirate ship comes around shooting cannonballs at the bird that eventually hit it, making the girl fall out of its grasp. The girl fell into the forest and of course we gotta go and save her. First though, we need a sword to even enter the place, so it's on to Orca's home we go. Orca gives you a whole combat tutorial for the Wind Waker, which I'm honestly a big fan of. I know a lot of people find it pretty simple, and while it is, I just find it super satisfying to pull off. One of the reasons it's so satisfying is the cartoony sound effects that play whenever you pull off a successful hit. Yeah, sometimes it also just boils down to hitting A whenever it pops up on screen, but the combat in Zelda hasn't ever been what the series is known for. After our training is complete, Orca is nice enough to give us the hero sword, which is a blade infused with the power to grow stronger. Now with the sword in our possession, we can start making our way towards the forest. As we climb even higher to reach the forest, we come across a bridge that takes us to the entrance to the forest. When we walk in, we can see the girl stuck in a tree. In our path to her though, there's a bokoblin in our way. On the right of the forest, there's a giant boulder that we can't quite reach right now, but later in the game, when we have bombs, we can blow it up, leading to a fairy fountain. There's many great fairies in this game who increase your wallet size, and this very first one allows us to hold up to 1,000 rupees, which is pretty awesome. As we continue through the forest, some birds just think it would be a cool idea to drop more bokoblins on us, which I don't particularly appreciate. After taking them out, the girl wakes up and falls out of the tree. We chat with her for a bit as the pirates who were shooting at the bird come to meet up with Tetra. Oh, thank goodness I can call her Tetra now instead of the girl. I'm getting some PTSD. As we exit the forest, Aryll is waiting on the other side of the bridge for us when all of a sudden that big bird that was carrying Tetra comes over and steals Aryll. Link tries his best to save her, but instead he nearly ends up dying, only being saved by Tetra. With Link's sister being stolen, he of course wants to save her, and the pirates seem to be our only hope. As we try to convince them to let us go along with them, the Rito from earlier butts in on the conversation to make them feel guilty and let us go along with them. He pretty much says that this bird has been capturing young girls with long ears to take them to the Forsaken Fortress. Tetra says that we're unequipped to even go there and that we should at least pack a shield if we want to go with her. Luckily for us though, there was a shield back at Link's grandma's house, so let's try over there. When we get there and climb to the top floor though, the shield isn't there. Turns out grandma took the shield as she wants to hand it to Link personally. It's a very sad moment as Link's grandma weeps over her lost granddaughter. Well, now that we're fully equipped thanks to the outside island residence, we can start making our way to the Forsaken Fortress. This cutscene is one of my favorites in the game just because of how funny it is. The ship sets sail for the Forsaken Fortress as Link waves goodbye to all his friends and his grandma. Then in this super heartfelt moment, Tetra just starts making fun of him for getting so emotional. And I mean, come on, this waving animation is hilarious. Once we get to control the game again, we get to explore the pirate ship, but the pirates suggest we go down below to meet up with Nico. Once we meet up with Nico, he gives us a little challenge to partake in. When he steps up on this button, a bunch of platforms rise out of the ground and lanterns descend from the ceiling. Everything only stays in place for a little bit though, and according to Nico, it's gonna take one whole year before we're even able to make it through. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I really suck at this game, and apparently I can't even do something as simple as platforming. Come on, JICBean, your favorite game is Super Mario Galaxy 2, surely you can do some platforming in Wind Waker. I'm super ashamed by how long it took me to do the first time, so please roast me in the comments. After making it to the other side on the very first try, no doubt, Nico gives us access to a chest which contains the spoils bag, which we can use to hold items dropped by enemies. After getting that, we hear a call from Tetra telling us that we finally arrived at the Forsaken Fortress. If we go back outside, it's nighttime and Tetra is chilling in the crow's nest. While writing the script, I called this the poop deck because haha funny, but I completely forgot it was called the crow's nest. Just thought I'd share that with you so I can have an excuse to say poop deck. Anyways, Tetra shows us the Forbidden Fortress, and at first glance, this place looks like it would be pretty cool to explore. We have to make it to one of the higher rooms in the dungeon in order to save our sister. Tetra's not really too sure how to get up there, but then all of a sudden she gets an idea. In another absolutely hilarious cutscene, the pirates stick Link into a barrel and plan on catapulting him up to the room. Gosh, Wind Waker is by far the funniest Zelda game. The launch doesn't necessarily go according to plan as we lose our sword and fall into the Forsaken Fortress. As always with these dungeon reviews, let's start by taking a look at the dungeon theme. The Forsaken Fortress has a military sounding theme, and it's pretty simple. There's both a snare and a bass drum playing throughout the entirety of the track, and a bassoon joins them a little while into it. Finally, there's this tense sound that, believe it or not, adds tension to the track. Just like all of the Wind Waker's music, I like this track a good bit, and it fits with the location super well. When we get out of the water that we fell into, Link hears a voice that's coming from his pockets. This right here is a little stone that allows us to speak with people like Tetra even when they're not with us. She doesn't really say much except to get our sword as we truly start this hated dungeon. Since we don't have our sword, the main gimmick of the Forsaken Fortress is to use these barrels to sneak around. You don't have to use them to stealth through everything, but they'll be your best bet. For the first little bit though, we need to dodge some searchlights, but if you get caught, you'll be thrown in jail. Yeah, this happens every single time you get caught, and while it sounds like a neat idea, it's just not fun. We can escape the cell by taking a little crawl space behind the spot. Once we get out of our cell, we immediately spot a chest containing the dungeon map. Throughout the dungeon, there's a bunch of hanging lanterns that we can swing across in order to get to new areas. Before we can make our way up to Arrow though, we'll need to take out the searchlights that caught us earlier. One kind of positive thing about the dungeon is that it's semi-open world as you don't really have to go into a lot of rooms. That kind of makes it a little complicated to talk about each of the rooms, but honestly, most of them don't really have anything of note in them. As I said a little bit ago, we need to go and turn off all of these searchlights, and this is probably the best part of the dungeon this time around. At each of the searchlights is a bokoblin controlling it, and since we don't have our sword, we have to think outside the box. There's some pots containing some wooden sticks that we can use to beat the bokoblins up. I think that being able to pick up random weapons is super cool, but it's pretty underdeveloped in this game. It's only really used in the early game, and I think it spices up the gameplay a decent bit. There's only 2 searchlights that you have to go and take out, and once they're out of the way, you can make your way up to your sister. After going through a few rooms, we'll eventually come across one with a couple of moblins and a big door. You'll just have to simply stealth by them using barrels, and let's just say, these fellas aren't the smartest enemies in Zelda. Seriously, you know there's not supposed to be a barrel here, why are you not checking it out a bit further? Through the door, we can come across some stairs that lead us to yet another moblin we need to stealth on by. Ugh, and this guy takes so freaking long to pass by. Seriously, this one moblin takes up a solid minute of your time, which is super boring. Past him, we can continue climbing and saddle across some gaps. This is where the searchlights you take out would normally get you, and past that, we can finally get our sword. One problem though, we get locked into an arena by some spikes and have to fight a green bokoblin. This is the boss of the Forsaken Fortress for this first run through, and it's something alright. He dies in like 2 seconds, and once he's defeated, we can finally go save our sister. As we walk into this room, there's a jail cell containing Errol alongside a few other girls. Before we can save her though, the big bird from earlier steals us away and takes us up to Ganondorf. I mean, I wonder who this guy could be. The dude just tilts his head and we get flung into the ocean. And that's the end of the first time at the Forsaken Fortress. This is far from a strong start to the Wind Waker's dungeons, and if you only came here this one time, it would easily be the worst in the series. It has some decent ideas, but I just don't feel like the ideas are executed super well. The whole stealth idea just doesn't work well here, and I like stealth in games. There's not even a cool boss fight at the end when you finally do get your sword. We're about to experience a a JICBean first because the first time you visit the Forsaken Fortress is getting an F tier. Sorry to all you fans of this portion of the game, but I just do not have a fun time here at all. There's no redeeming qualities here, and it's easily one of the weakest points in Wind Waker. Luckily though, we don't have to wait too long to come back to this place. Hey look, we're already coming back to the Forsaken Fortress. I bet everyone's excited. Well, there's no way this can be worse than the first time, so let's go ahead and get this over with. As we approach the place, we get bombarded by cannons, but we can just fire bombs right back at them to destroy them. We can then blow up the door and enter back into the Forsaken Fortress. As we start walking around, we come across a door, but out of nowhere, Phantom Ganon spawns in as we initiate a boss fight. Okay, it's technically a mini boss, but it feels like a boss fight. The music here especially makes it feel a lot cooler. It makes the whole fight feel tense, with it being super fast paced. I also really like that you fight him pretty similarly to Ganon in Ocarina of Time as you play some tennis with him. After a little bit of tennis, which gets very fast paced very quickly, Phantom Ganon will be hit by the blue ball and you can wail on him with your sword. Of course, after doing that for a little bit, Phantom Ganon will run away, some doors unlock, and a chest spawns in containing the item of the Forsaken Fortress, the Skull Hammer. Hammers are absolutely awesome and this thing is pretty powerful. You even get to test out your new hammer on some mini blends that decide to inconvenience you. As we explore the Forsaken Fortress for a second time, we don't have to stealth anymore, which is amazing, and there's even some new enemies like statues that shoot laser beams out of their eyes. While the Skull Hammer is a pretty awesome weapon to use, it has another use. There's these wooden pillars that block certain pathways, and we can use the Skull Hammer to get them out of our way. Also, in one of these random rooms, there's a chest containing the compass. Can you tell what room this is? Because I certainly can't. Once again, we'll have to take out the Bokoblins operating searchlights, and it's not hard at all. Once they're out of the way, we can once again climb all the way up to the room hiding the pointy-eared girls while taking out all sorts of enemies. Once we make it up here, Link's a lot more cautious as he enters the room. This time around, we're actually able to save our sister thanks to Tetra and the pirates showing up. They were nice enough to lure that big bird away from us, and Tetra also notices the sword that we now have. She's absolutely baffled at this, but decides not to worry about it right now and saves the girls. It's a super happy moment seeing Link and Aryll reunited once again, but we won't stay reunited for too long as we have to go and take out Ganondorf. While everyone leaves to be safe, the room we're in starts to flood for some reason, and the big bird descends into the room. Luckily for us though, this room has a spiral staircase, and on it there's a ton of Bokoblins that try to make your life hard, but you can completely avoid them. Once we reach the top, the bird blocks our path, but if we hit him with the Skull Hammer, he'll fall into the water below. Spoiler alert, that bird isn't dead, and once we reach the top, he comes back from the water as the Helmarok King boss fight begins. I really like this boss fight. The music, as always, is phenomenal and is so epic sounding. The Helmarok King will fly around, and when he's landed, he'll try to attack you with his head. If he misses, his head will just get stuck into the ground, allowing you to hit him with the Skull Hammer. That's the basic gist of this fight, and I find it super fun. After a couple Skull Hammer hits, you'll knock off his mask, which doesn't really add anything new to the fight, unfortunately. It does mean, though, that the Helmarok King is almost dead, and after one more Skull Hammer smash, he'll be defeated. This of course grants us with our patented heart container and opens up the pathway to Ganondorf. As you enter Ganon's quarters, you'll see the fatty looking out the window. He introduces himself to Link as these two titans of the industry have a face-off. According to Ganondorf, pulling the sword destroyed the seal that has kept Ganondorf here. Link then tries to rush Ganon, but he just tanks it like the absolute beast he is. Then he smacks the heck out of Link and just aura farms on his body. He also says that this blade is completely useless to us since it doesn't sparkle or something like that. Ganon's getting ready to kill Link, but then Tetra shows up to save the day. But Ganon don't take too kindly to getting beat up by children and starts choking her when all of a sudden he notices his Triforce of Power resonating with her. He claims that she's Princess Zelda, but Tetra has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Before he can do anything about it though, some Rito and Valoo come over to save us from Ganon's grasp, as Valoo just lights the broken down ship Ganondorf is on fire, which is absolutely awesome. We then get brought back to the King of Red Lions at the Tower of the Gods, where we must return to Hyrule. Once we're down here, Tetra finally wakes up and we get the absolute funniest image of Link ever. Just look at how stretched out this dude is. No, this is not edited in any way, and this is exactly how he looks in the game. We get told that we must head back to the room where we pulled the Master Sword by someone talking out of the stone. I like that we get to bring Tetra with us. Having companions in Zelda is always nice, even if it is for a short little while. Once we get down to the Master Sword room, some dude is standing at the pedestal. It turns out that this dude is the King of Hyrule, which is where we are right now. It also turns out that the king is actually the King of Red Lions. He tells us the story of how Ganon came to power and how the kingdom of Hyrule and Ganon were both sealed away. The people who sealed everything away were our ancestors, and as long as Ganon wasn't revived, Hyrule would stay sunken underwater. The king then asks Tetra to come to him as he reveals that she's in possession of the Triforce of Wisdom. It was passed down to Tetra by her mother, and that means she has the power of the gods. As we get a neat Link to the Past musical callback, Tetra turns into the one and only Princess Zelda. Tetra is the one true heir to the royal family and the last of its bloodline. Zelda's lullaby then kicks in, which is just one of the greatest pieces of music in the entire series. Ganon Ganon will not rest until he finds us, and it's our goal to repair the Master Sword so that we can defeat Ganondorf. Zelda will stay down here though, just so she can be protected as we leave with the king to go do awesome hero stuff. And that's a wrap on the second time at the Forsaken Fortress. This was definitely a much better experience with some super fun boss fights. The actual dungeon itself though does still kinda suck, but I mean the bosses are what the second time is even needed for. Phantom Ganon is a neat boss that I wish was a little bit longer, but I understand because it's not the main boss of the dungeon. The Helmrock King is super fun, and being able to use the Skull Hammer is also super fun. Overall, I think the second visit to the Forsaken Fortress deserves a C. As for the Forsaken Fortress as a whole though, it's getting a grade D. The first time around really sucks, but the fact that the second visit has a couple of fun boss fights makes it a bit better. Still though, the Forsaken Fortress is easily one of the weakest dungeons, not only in the Wind Waker, but in all of Zelda. Well, there you have it. There's the Forsaken Fortress reviewed and graded. The next episode in this series, we'll be taking a look at the Earth Temple, and it's much better than this absolutely abysmal dungeon. Next week though, we're going to be celebrating the release of the Mario Galaxy movie, as I'm going to rank every single galaxy from both Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2. I just want to thank you guys so much for the support recently. It means the absolute world to me, and if you'd like to continue to support the channel, then why not subscribe? I'd greatly appreciate it, and it would help the channel massively. Of course, I gotta thank the one and only Alice in Elden Ring for being a channel member. But that's gonna do it for me. Have a phenomenal rest of your day, and we'll be seeing ya.